Let's stop referring to Trump as a non-ideological and transactional politician. That is absolute nonsense, and I'm becoming increasingly allergic to it. Donald Trump is currently the head of a highly ideological political coalition composed of three main forces. On one side, we have the recently highly visible ultra-libertarians and techno-feudalists from Silicon Valley, led by Musk. The second component consists of Christian nationalists, represented today by ultra-conservatives associated with the Heritage Foundation think tank, and Russell Vought, the chief ideologue behind Project 2025, who held a significant position in Trump's administration. The third element is the far-right and populist MAGA movement, whose most recognizable figure is undoubtedly former Trump advisor Steve Bannon. Each faction of this coalition has specific and often contradictory political demands, and they are primarily held together by Donald Trump's authority and popularity. Trump is transactional only in the sense that he has to throw each of these factions various policy bones from their respective agendas. For Musk and Silicon Valley, the number one priority is deregulation and the drastic reduction of the state apparatus to eliminate government power, which they see as an obstacle to their business expansion and wealth accumulation. For the MAGA movement, Trump delivers measures such as the repeal of diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, policies, as well as attacks on transgender individuals. For Christian nationalists, the primary focus is the fight against abortion and the imposition of strict gender roles in both the family and society. This Trumpian coalition is, of course, also ideological on an international level, as evident in the statements of Musk, Trump, and J.D. Vance regarding Ukraine and President Zelensky, as well as their efforts to influence European politics in favor of the far right. See Vance's meeting with the AfD chairwoman and Musk's interview with Alice Weidel on the X platform. This ideology is centered on opposing liberal and leftist values in favor of power, imperialism, and far-right politics. It is therefore entirely clear where this Trumpian coalition ideologically and politically belongs. Even in international politics, I do not believe it has transactional or pragmatic objectives. Rather, its goals are distinctly ideological. In this regard, Trump's affinity for Putin is also quite logical. The current Russian Federation, albeit with significant local specificities, upholds very similar political values to Trump's America: an emphasis on the traditional family, conservative values, a strictly hierarchical society where oligarchs and billionaires wield enormous wealth and political power at the expense of ordinary people. Both regimes also share a common goal: the fight against minorities and the so-called decadent values of the West. All these factors connect Trump with Putin, and it is no coincidence that they now get along so well. It is rather naive to assume that these two will now come up with a realistic, transactional deal that would benefit Europe or Ukraine. On the contrary, it will likely be an agreement between two empires and two kindred ideologies pursuing similar goals. And a strong, free-thinking, and socially progressive Europe is certainly not among them. Why is it important to reject the notion that Trump is a non-ideological and transactional politician? Because it prevents us from having realistic expectations, as demonstrated by the statements of most of our political leaders. If we anticipate a pleasant surprise and a forceful resolution of the conflict in Ukraine that considers European and Ukrainian perspectives, we are likely to be unpleasantly surprised. Trump is not a transactional or non-ideological politician. He is the leader of an extremely ideological and dogmatic conglomerate of ultra-conservative and far-right political forces, and we must approach him as such.